going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC reality chick, and you don't see my pretty sexy face, so you know I'm not alone. AEW, All Out, Guapo, say hello.
Hola, mis amigos, Senor Guapos, back again to the Spaz Phoenix channel.
Okay, so let's get the, not like I would normally do when I'm by myself, let's get the house cleaning out of the way first. Guapo, you've got a new project on the go. Tell us about the new project.
That is right. Me and my friend Michael Ruffin are doing a show on Facebook, YouTube, all the platforms, called the Wednesday Night Wrestling Show. Find us on Facebook, give us a like, follow us. Every Thursday we will be going. We figured out how to do live on Facebook, so every Thursday we're going live on Facebook. So check us out. We'll love to have your input and come hang out with us.
It's 7 o'clock your time, but like real time it's 8 o'clock, and then dropping in a podcast form, correct?
Dropping podcast form on the next day, Friday.
Very cool. Yeah, obviously find the Facebook group, the Wednesday Night Wrestling Show, even though the Wednesday Night War might not be a thing very much longer.
Yeah, but we're not changing the name. We already have everything for it.
Graphics and everything. I mean, graphics are hard.
Graphics-esque.
Let's put some.
Mrs. Guapo's working on a graphic for us, so
let's put some stuff on the table, as like I always do. I had invited you and Ruffin to come and hop on after All Out to actually do a review of the show. Most people know I don't do a lot of pay-per-view reviews. I find I have a lot more fun doing the previews, and we can talk about, like, hey, what might happen. But specifically as it comes to either AEW shows or takeovers, I'm going to try in the next little bit to get yourself and Ruffin on to do a couple of reviews, a couple of, like, you know, instant reaction type things. Unfortunately, that didn't work out this time around. Ruffin's not available for this coming Saturday. Hopefully either the next takeover or the next AEW show, I'll get you both on. My audience can get to know Ruffin, because Ruffin's never been on the show, so that'll be fun. And hopefully they'll go back and check you out, because on a weekly basis, I don't talk shit about it. Well, I talk shit about AEW, but I don't talk about
that's a problem. You and Jake over there be rattling your little heads about AEW just because, you know, y'all mad. Y'all mad we got the better brand. We got the better show.
Well, okay, to be fair, and I'm going to stick up for him since he's not here. Shout out to Jake DeMarco. I think Jake gets all his NXT out on this show because I think he's getting all the AEW he can handle over on the Joe Cronin show. So shout out to Jake. Go check out his channel, Countdown Ended. While we're at it, go check out the Joe Cronin show. I mean, most people know who Joe Cronin is at this point. Shout out to Guapo, Ruffin, their new show. Come back and join myself and Kristen. We're going to do some more Flicks Fix stuff, hopefully this coming week. If we get a chance to record it, it's going to be all about DC Fandom and all the trailers that came out of that. And OKayFabe is floating out there somewhere in the universe. I'll get him back for something at some point. Yeah, well, he's not doing wrestling. So I threw it out to him a little while ago. It's like,
what's Connor up to, huh?
He's got a more random, like, any topic goes type podcast going on right now.
Okay.
So I immediately did the whole, like, you think you're getting out of wrestling.
Once you're in, you're in. You can't leave wrestling.
Just when I thought I got out, they pulled me back. Wow. Me and him did a couple of podcasts right at the beginning of COVID to be like, hey, this is a bit weird.
you know what that means, right?
What?
You're gonna have to get Kristen into it. Y'all gonna need to review Ready to Rumble.
No.
Yes.
Hard no.
Do it. Come on.
Hard no.
I'm gonna send it to her.
I mean, I did get out to see the New Mutants last weekend because theaters are actually open here. So we'll be talking about that eventually. Also, we've got the Joker trilogy coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll go from there and not do Ready to Rumble because.
Oh yeah, y'all definitely need to do Ready to Rumble.
False.
Yes.
False. At least half the reason we're doing so many movie reviews now is because I think she's given up on wrestling.
I mean, probably.
I mean, unless you watch AEW or NXT, everybody's pretty much given up on wrestling. Mainstream WWE has gotten so bad that people are actually paying attention to Impact again. What the heck is... You just sent me something while we're recording. Why? Moving on. I just... Guapo, the last thing I needed was another dick pic, alright?
Sorry, it happens.
We're here to talk.
I'm sorry. My name is not Texatine Dream.
Unfortunately, you weren't here. We've already talked about the Velveteen Dream situation. No, you've got, on your show, you got Sammy Guevara, who I will say legitimately got fucked over in that scenario. Oh,
That's
we're gonna fire you for a month for saying some stupid shit on the podcast.
Thankfully, after a month of sensitivity training, Sammy, the Spanish God, Guevara, is back and will be here at All Out this Saturday.
In other words, they kept him off TV long enough so that they can still maintain their reputation as the good guy company.
Yes, basically.
So
AEW, what he did wasn't that bad. It was not as bad as
it was shock value bullshit on a podcast that only became anything because of the absolutely toxic fan base of Sasha Banks.
And I hate to say it, we have worse than we've talked about on your channel.
Yes, we have.
I
Definitely.
mean,
come cancel me. I don't make any money anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. And as everybody who listens to us knows, this channel is just an opinionated how we feel about wrestling. It's nothing serious.
The thing about that is, and I mean, I think we can stay on this for a second just because it's AEW related, right? Like, it's bad enough that, like, he got fucked over by, like, cancel culture is bullshit. There are legitimate things out there. There are legitimate people being fucked with, and that needs to be dealt with. Nobody's going to deny that.
Absolutely.
But somebody made a rude comment about you on a podcast. Get the fuck... Oh, and it happened, what, like 5 years ago?
5 years ago, whenever he was a 17, 18-year-old kid.
Right. Which means somebody at some point, 5 years later, went, what can we get him on?
Yeah, it was a stupid comment made by a kid for shock value.
Yeah, and let me say again, I'm not saying it wasn't a stupid thing. I'm not even going to repeat it.
No.
But I'm not saying it wasn't a stupid thing for him to say, but he just said something stupid. And the other part of it becomes, you and I were talking about this before we came on air, it becomes an equality of how you address it situation. If he had made a comment about somebody random, it probably would have been like, he was a bit of an idiot there, wasn't he? But because, like I say, you've talked about it, I've talked about it, Jake's come on to talk about it, the absolutely toxic fan base of Sasha Banks, is not good. Like, it
doesn't help her at all.
Like, it doesn't, and it's almost to the point now where it's set, like, I've been very blunt about it. I have my opinions of Sasha Banks. I think she does a lot more harm than good herself, but her fan base has almost become a separate thing on its own. And A, I don't think what he did was that bad, but B, how bad something that you've done shouldn't depend on who you did it to. That could apply to a lot of things in the current political scenario. It's just... There's several layers to it, and everybody's like, oh, well, you're defending him and you're bashing on Velveteen Dream, and it's like, if you can't see how those two things are different, then I can't help you.
Correct.
Like, I just can't. This is a guy that, like, we lost they took his money and gave it to charity, which I guess dresses it up as a nice thing, as like a reparation type thing. But it's not a kind, pleasant donation when somebody else has stolen your money to give to the charity. I never want to take money out of the hands of charity. I want to be very clear on that. But if you've given money to a charity, it should be of your own volition.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyways, that was a tangent I wasn't expecting on going on, to be honest.
It's fine, because now we will talk about AEW All Out.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you how you feel about this show first, even though you just spent the past hour talking about it with Ruffin. General thoughts going in.
I'm really looking forward to it. The show is a 9-match card. It's stacked. It's a stacked card with a lot of heavy hitters on it. It's gonna be fun. No, I mean, there's really not much else to say about it besides this entire show is gonna be fun from start to finish, most probably. Maybe one piss break.
Yeah, I can think of two, and one of them includes a lot of people that I really like, which is really unfortunate. I am coming into this one a little bit differently than I have on a lot of other AEW shows with you, because you and I have joked around a lot. You're the AEW guy, I'm the NXT guy. I've come in with sort of like a lot of piss and fire about AEW, or I've knocked down a bunch of their stuff in the past. And I still do on a weekly basis because they think they have a women's division, but that's another story. This is very much like TakeOver Portland was for me before all the COVID shit happened. When Jake and I previewed TakeOver Portland, I basically had the same sentiment there that I have here. Every single match on this card is a match I'm looking forward to, but as much as I'm looking forward to every single match, I have issues with just about every match. So every match on this show for me is a little bit of a balancing act, and a lot of it is, I will say up front, is a lot of nitpicky stuff. A lot of it is I maybe just don't like how we got here. There's not a whole lot of it that's like I think it's going to be a bad match, but there's a lot of, I think there's not necessarily inconsistencies, but stuff that could either be done better or have gone a different way or whatever. And the way I normally do, I go from like least interested to most interested. Obviously, the main event is the main event. Starting off with the 4-on-4 match, I was going to say, high point of this pay-per-view is there's no Cody Rhodes.
Right.
But instead, we have an 8-man, we're really, really sad that Cody's not here match. With Zack Ryder, Scorpio Sky, Goldust, and QT Marshall taking on the Dark Order.
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, no Cody. I mean, I think we get Cody coming out at some point during this match, maybe. But good guys win. It's simple. The Dark Order's over right now. As deservingly so, because they're a really good group of guys, and their bits on BT are hilarious and great. And Mr. Brody Lee is the TNT champion that we deserve.
I'm going to say this
Yes.
right before we get to it, because I kind of, in all fairness, I kind of wish that he was having a title defense tonight. Because, I mean,
agree.
I know a lot of people are really high on Brody Lee. He's still Luke Harper with a little bit more mic time for me, which isn't a dig, because obviously it's a passe sentence at this point, but like, oh, WWE could have done more with him. But it's like, we see that he's given a little bit more mic time, got a little bit more character, got himself a title. I think not capitalizing on that with even a cursory title defense, even if it was a squash, like even if it was like for some random reason they put in versus Marco Stunt because he wanted to show off his title on a pay-per-view and that would be an excuse to do it. I think that's a missed opportunity because you could still have him out there with all his fucking goons and everything. Dark Order is really a split thing for me there because there's parts of that group that have really intricate story things going on. I mean, obviously, what's the chick that just the one that choked out Brandy Rhodes?
Oh shoot!
Can't think of her name now. That's awesome.
Something Jordan?
I don't know. Anyways,
Maybe.
But she's there. She's got the distinction of being like the first female member of the group. She's obviously also going on to try and recruit Tenera Conte. Tenera Conte is a great pickup for AEW, by the way. But then you've got the whole
Anna Jay.
You got the Colt Cabana thing where he's sort of playing the lovable idiot, and he doesn't really know that his new boss is the bad guy. Then you got the initial guys with Uno and Grayson and all that sort of thing. So you got all these characters that have all these individual characteristics, and then you have the rest of them that are basically the putties from Power Rangers.
Yeah, basically.
So it's like I'm totally invested in half of this group, which is a hard thing to gravitate towards, where he's just picked up a title, but we're not addressing that at all. On the other side of the coin, I'm sorry, I really don't care too much about the Natural Nightmares. I like Dustin Rhodes, the whole Dustin Rhodes, oh my God, look what he can do at his age. He's, putting all the youngsters to shame and all that stuff. Love that.
Right.
I do not care about his partner at all, which sucks because there's nothing bad, there's nothing wrong. Scorpio Sky is obviously somebody they want to push like as a singles guy. He's great. I think the quickest comparison I can have him in AEW is like Ricochet in WWE, as far as like I just want to see that guy do something cool. And more intense, more serious Zack Ryder is awesome, but they're all just there to be Team Cody, with potentially Cody not even being there. And I don't think with his brother, that's one thing. That there's obviously a long-standing story there because they've been brothers all their lives, as the expression goes. But the rest of them, it's just like, we're here to stick up for the guy that's not here. I don't think that serves them. I think every single one, even QT Marshall, who I don't really have an opinion of, I would love to see him doing something for himself. I would love to see Scorpio Sky forwarding himself. I would love to see if Zack Ryder is going to go off and do something. I would like to see what that's going to be, not just, hey, we're all really mad that you picked on the boss. Every single person in this match could be doing something better. Not to say, and this is the first of many times I'm going to say it, not to say that it's not going to be fun. AEW loves doing these pile of people matches. I do think you're right. I do think the good guys win, which for the brand new TNT champion who has the numbers advantage because he's got this big group behind him, kind of buries him a little bit as a brand new champion. So
not necessarily. I mean, it doesn't really bury him because I don't think Brody's going to be the one that eats the pin. I think one of the lackeys, not even Grayson, Iba Uno, neither one of them are going to eat the pin. Brody's not going to eat the pin. It's going to be either 4 or 5. It's either.
But isn't it Colt though?
Name? Huh?
Isn't it Colt that's in the match?
Is it Colt?
I think so.
I think
it's Uno, Grayson
eats the pin.
Yeah, but I think it's because the focus is on Brody and because he's the leader. I think he's still, as a character, I think he still takes that loss even if he doesn't take the pin, if that makes sense. Like, he's the captain of the team. So I think as a brand new singles champion who just took it off the great high and mighty Cody Rhodes, captains his team into a losing effort against 4 guys that aren't even a team. I don't see a way for anybody to come out of this looking exceptionally good, I think, is my problem.
Right.
But I do agree with you. The good guys win. I don't know who gets pinned on the Dark Order side. I'd love to see Ryder get the win. All right, what's his actual name? Matt Cardona?
Matt Cardona.
Okay, I'm going to stop saying Ryder just to be a sarcastic dickhead. Cardona should get the win, because if they're going to play up how him and Cody are friends and apparently are going to be a tag team in the future, then he should be getting the win for the we're sticking up for Cody team. Scorpio Sky looks so out of place in this match. Like, he could be doing so much more. I would love to see him go into the Casino Battle Royal and win. Like, get Scorpio Sky versus either MJF or Mox down the line. Nobody's going to complain about that.
Right.
Anyways, I pooped on it, but it's going to be, like I say, you get them almost every week. It was almost comical at one point on Dynamite when they were having like 6-on-6, 7-on-7, 8-on-8 matches. But they always do seem to manage to put these big pile of people matches together, and they always seem to deliver. I just don't really like. I don't like why this match is happening, if anything else.
I mean, personally, I rather would have seen Matt Cardona versus literally anybody else for his debut pay-per-view match in AEW.
I mean, you could have Cardona versus Brody Lee, and I don't think him losing would necessarily hurt him.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, because obviously then, like, you could just play up, like, okay, here's the brand new champion. He's riding a wave of momentum. He's got, like, 8 guys behind him. You could have Ryder lose, but not lose too much face, and all these guys come out to Cardona, sorry.
It's alright. I know, you gotta get used to not using his slave name.
That's so bad. No, what was funny is, have you seen the rant that Goldust went on, where he literally referred to Goldust as his slave name?
I want to say I heard a clip of it. I don't think I had a chance to listen to the whole thing.
Because I know what he means by that, and I get feeling that way. You could have found a better way to phrase it. I'm not. This is me. I don't police what people say. I don't police what's offensive. But that could have potentially offended a lot. Like just using the term slave name
True.
could have offended a lot of people, and not in the oh look he said something cool to be edgy way. It's just like you could be potentially having people out there thinking you're taking a shot at a big chunk of history there that's not good. But no, like if I was doing it right, I would say like instead of having all these guys sort of muster around and whatever, have Cardona, who's just come to AEW because he's Cody's friend and whatever, let him get face to face with Brody Lee. They have a match. Brody Lee keeps his title with all kinds of interference and all that sort of thing. And then the rest of these guys that we know are Cody's friends come out to break up the brawl after the match. Then you have Cardona making a good showing. You got Brody Lee making his first title defense on a pay-per-view. His group looks strong. He looks strong. And the people that are bound together by being Cody Rhodes' friend are still shown to have each other's back without just being thrown in. And I'm sorry, but I can't help getting over this is just, it's a big lot of people match because that's what we do. Which is, and this, I just thought of this just now, that would work on another pay-per-view, but it doesn't work on a pay-per-view where you've already got a more marquee big pile of people match with the Casino Battle Royal.
Right.
Anyways, I'm going to let you talk about the Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara match because I just lost a page that I had up.
Yeah. Matt Hardy versus the Spanish god Sammy Guevara in a Broken Rules match. Yes. Sorry, that was for you, Kristen.
You know she's not listening to this, right?
I will send her the clip. I will find where I do this in the video, the podcast, and say, hey, listen to this from this point. I talk about something really cool. Sorry. Anyway, the Broken Rules match. I know part of it is Matt Hardy. If he loses, he will no longer be working with AEW.
Is that how it's phrased, or is it just like he'll never wrestle again? Because I know he's done the whole. He's basically being Doc Hendricks for who are they called? Knockoff Street Profits.
Let's see. All Out. Hardy must leave if he loses.
Okay. No, who are the Private Party? That he's kind of like been their manager, their advisor, whatever. If this was a way to get him out of like active wrestling to permanently put him in that manager role, I could see him losing. But if it's him leaving AEW entirely, I don't know. We had the really bad spot of him like taking that really unfortunate chair to the face.
Here's the thing. Per the stipulation, if Hardy must leave AEW forever if he loses. The winner of the Broken Rules match will be the last man standing, determined when one man can't answer the count by the referee. So it's a last man standing match.
They could have just called it a last man standing match.
It's a Broken Rules match.
Uh-huh.
Right, yeah. But stipulation, if Hardy loses, he leaves AEW forever. Now, it just says Hardy must leave. Nothing about any of his brokenness.
Somebody else has inhabited my vessel.
Exactly.
And see, that's the kind of thing that like is a lot of fun to play with, like as far as storyline wise and whatever. But it also completely rips the balls off the stipulation.
Yeah, kind of.
I should love this more than I do. Matt Hardy's great. Matt Hardy's entertaining as hell. Sammy Guevara is one of my favorite people to watch on AEW. Like, we've talked about it before. Like, it's the Sammy Guevaras and the Jungle Expresses and the Darby Allins and all that I like watching. Necessarily, the top of the card isn't what I pay attention to in AEW, and that sounds like I'm just trying to be counter elite or whatever. It's just the people in the middle are a lot more fun for me. So, yeah, if it wasn't for that stipulation and how they're gonna like write around him like being kicked out of AEW but not, like I'd 100% slam dunk give it to Sammy Guevara. But I don't see AEW getting rid of Matt Hardy, and technically he's the good guy.
Correct. I agree. I say Matt's going to win it just because I don't see Matt leaving anytime soon. And Ruffin had made a good point, too, that neither one of us was sure, but I'm pretty sure Jeff has not re-signed with WWE, and his contract is ending soon, I think.
Well, that sucks. He just became Intercontinental Champion again.
I don't mean anything. They put the the tag titles on the Revival a couple months before they canned them.
Now I will say, I don't know. I just think I know we're not talking about WWE, but the spot on last week's SmackDown where Hardy defended successfully against AJ Styles, and then up on the rampway we have a returning Sami Zayn with his Intercontinental title, and they did sort of like the Cena Punk thing. I want a program between Sami Zayn and Jeff Hardy. And I think we're going to get exactly the same thing in NXT as well, because we have an interim cruiserweight champion, and apparently Jordan Devlin is making his return at some point soon. He posted recently on Instagram, like him with his title, and the caption was something like, "Just so you know, there's really only one, and he's coming back soon." So, I don't know. Like, we've got a lot of, wrestling's had in the past, like, undisputed championships. There's quite a few scenarios here on the WWE side of things where there are quite disputed championships. So I don't think you get into a storyline of, oh my God, who's the real Intercontinental Champion?
No.
Putting that much importance on Jeff Hardy if you think he's walking out the back door. The other thing about all this, and this is a little bit cliche, and this is a little bit leaning back on WWE tropes, but the initial busting open of Matt Hardy was done with a steel chair.
Yep.
He came back for his vengeance and put Guevara through a table.
Yep.
Chances are we see a ladder at some point on Saturday, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's going to come full circle.
And this becomes a Falls Count Anywhere TLC match.
Maybe.
Or not in name, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you remember when Hardy was in TNA and he said to I think it was Abyss. My memory's really shit. When he's basically like, "I'll bring the tables, the ladders, and the chairs. You bring your steel chain, and we'll call it Full Metal Mayhem." And it's just like, it's the most, it's that bad. The promo is that bad that little bit stuck in my head. It's like, I really can't call this a TLC match. So, metal stuff. Yeah. But I think there's going to be like on commentary they make reference to Hardy being a historic wrestling tag team with his brother. They hardly ever say Jeff, but it's like, Matt and his brother, they've made tag team wrestling history, so they don't mind leaning on his past. I actually like that because they don't pretend that, hey, these wrestlers weren't anybody before they came here.
Oh no.
There's
no way of hiding it.
No, but that's a big dig at WWE, and I'll admit that. Is a lot of wrestlers in WWE, like they've pretended that Drew McIntyre just disappeared for 10 years and came back and didn't do all kinds of cool shit on the indies and an Impact or whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if this sort of loosely becomes a TLC match in everything but name. I don't know, man. Like, I have every reason to think this is good. I just think Matt Hardy's getting up there, and he's a little bit busted up. He's a little bit broken, no pun intended. So there's the odd time where I have a little bit of the Undertaker-ish, It's like, I'm still enjoying your match, but should I be enjoying your match? Because you look like you're in a lot of pain as you walk down to the ring.
He's good. Matt's fine.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to paint myself off as like the really, really nice guy either. It's just every now and then you'll see like a little twinge or a little, not quite what something should have been, and it's just like I don't, as a wrestling fan, it's part of, I've been watching it for way too long, but it's like I didn't want to see that. I want to pretend that didn't happen. So I hope everything's good. Like, he straight up got his face busted open a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And like, we can't pretend that doesn't have effects. But as we said before, Guevara got fucked over quite recently. I'd love to see him have an amazing showing on pay-per-view on the big, the quote-unquote big stage.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, Matt Hardy can do that.
I think even with Matt winning this match, Guevara's still going to come out looking really strong. I mean, especially with it being a last man standing match, I think Matt barely gets up.
Yeah, the other thing though, with Sammy being the heel, and anytime there's like a wrestler that has a match that's theirs, like again, go back to the Undertaker, talk about stuff like Buried Alive and whatever.
Yeah.
The heel always wants to be able to say like, I beat you at your match. Like that's the only reason it makes sense for me that they didn't just call this a Falls Count Anywhere match. They called it a broken match, so that it could be like Matt's match. So Sammy being the smarmy heel can come back and say, I beat you at your match. It's a little manufactured, but I still like it.
It could also be a match that they pre-record.
Oh, cinematic match.
Like a cinematic match for it.
I wouldn't mind that. Like
it will be able to lend itself to being able like that. I mean, shoot, having it at the Hardy compound.
I would love that if we weren't where we are historically right now. I promise this is potentially the last time I'm going to mention the COVID and all that bullshit. All the cinematic matches that AEW and NXT and WWE have done have worked with the sense of there was no audience. So basically you could do anything anywhere you wanted. I mean, look at Money in the Bank, for God's sake. Right. I think the very first pay-per-view that they're able to have a decent amount of fans back in Daly's place, I don't think those fans that have been waiting forever to get back into a wrestling show want to watch a whole match take place on screen. Not that it's going to be bad.
I mean, they could do it to where it's a cinematic thing and then the finish is live.
Right. I don't know. That's a really tricky thing. Like, WrestleMania is another great example, right? WrestleMania should have been in the pirate
ship, yes,
stadium thing, right? I don't think you would have ever, even if it ended in the ring, I don't think you would have given them something like the Boneyard match.
Oh, absolutely not.
To watch on a giant screen, to have the last 2 minutes actually happen live. I think that's a really, if it happened on a Monday Night Raw or a Dynamite or an NXT or something like that, it's part of the show. You get what you get. But I don't think people are paying money to go to a pay-per-view to watch the pay-per-view live in their seat on a screen.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree with you in the sense that creatively they've done some cool shit with the cinematic matches. I don't think that's a gamble. If it was me putting the show together, which it's not, obviously, because it would be called NXT, that's not a gamble I would make on your first pay-per-view back with fans.
I guess we'll see.
I mean, I also predict that this is going to be really short. Because the other thing I will give AEW credit for is if Matt Hardy is losing a bit of a step, they've done a good job of covering it up.
Yeah.
They go very much the Paul Heyman of, like, let's show off all your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. And if he's losing a step, a long match is going to show that. And as I say, I don't want to see that. I'm a Matt Hardy fan. I want to see him look as good as he can look. And Sammy Guevara is a lot younger than Matt Hardy. That just needs to be said. Anyways, there's a lot of stipulation matches on this show as well.
Cool.
Okay. talking about things that were just thrown together this week. Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks.
Yep.
Again, I'm going to start with, I'm looking forward to this match. This match will be great. The 4 men in this match are amazing wrestlers. Marco Stunt will be on the outside doing some amazing shit and probably get his head kicked off. It's fine. Now, I would be fine with this. I would be fine with what they did on Dynamite or whatever if it wasn't for how commentary treated this match. Because Jim Ross, I love Jim Ross. I think he's losing his mind a little. It's fine. Kept on saying, because it was the weird thing of like, it was another 4-on-4 match, and the winning team of 4 get to face each other on the pay-per-view. And he kept on drilling in. It's like, hey, this is a really important match. These are 8 talented guys, and 4 of these guys are going to get to go on to Saturday and make a big. They need to make their way onto that show. They need to get that pay-per-view payday and whatever. Now, that doesn't work on a couple of levels because you've got the Young Bucks in there. First of all,
right.
AEW caters to the smart fan. They know what's happening in the background. They know that the Young Bucks partially own this company. They're never in danger of not being on the card.
Yeah.
Second of all, you have to assume, because they are 2 of the 4 owners, they're not worried about money. So to say that to tell the story that these guys were fighting really hard on Dynamite because they just barely scraped their way onto the pay-per-view because they need a pay-per-view payday is insulting to the intelligence. Now, I don't know whether that was a Jim Ross thing or whether that was a directive of the storytelling. That part of it doesn't work for me yet. And also, Jurassic Express is one of their most popular acts in the company.
I don't see it being that might have been something JR just initiated or said or whatever, because with the way they've been booking the Bucks and everything lately, I don't see that being a direction that they're going to like try to have any storyline like that.
I don't know. That's why I wanted to say like it could very well have been JR just going off on his own bit, but like, if you don't make it to pay-per-view, you're not gonna make that big payday. And I'm like, first of all, they don't need a payday. They're fine. They're hosted by Tony Khan. He gave them a stadium to perform in through the entirety of COVID. They own the company. They don't need a payday. And also,
they're doing all right.
They run the company. You know what they need to do? If they want to get on the card, they go back to the office and scratch their names at the bottom of the sheet.
Besides, if it was really bad, they wouldn't be flying back home to California every week. And again, flying back in.
That's not quarantine.
Well, I think they're doing a schedule of film a week, live a week type thing.
Right.
So
it has zero.
They get tested every time getting there.
It has zero to do with the match, but I don't like that because AEW gives their fans the credit that their fans are smart, that their fans do know what's going on in the background, that AEW does break the kayfabe wall every now and then, and it's like you watch the Bucks wrestle, you're watching 2 of the 4 bosses. Like there's no smoke screen, there's no nothing. Like they know that their fans know. So I hope it was something from Jim Ross.
Right.
I hope that was something that he said off the cuff because, old school, like, territory wrestling, you just want to get yourself on the show. Other than that, I mean, I like Jurassic Express. I recognize what the Bucks bring to the table. I have zero thought in my head that Jurassic Express are winning this. The Bucks are just presented in such a way that, not to say that they don't deserve it, but they're presented in such a way that, like, unless somebody comes at them with a fucking tank, Shotzi Blackheart, NXT, moving on, they're winning. So Jurassic Express are there to lie down for the Bucks, is what it feels like. Everything leading up to that is going to be fantastic, because Jungle Boy is, like Sammy Guevara, like Darby Allin, like a bunch of other people that I've mentioned, is one of the ones I want to see go straight up.
I'm picking Jurassic Express to win this match.
Really?
Because Lucha things.
Because Lucha things.
But also because I think they're going to save the Bucks to face the winner of the tag championship match later on.
I have a really unpopular opinion coming up when we get to that.
Well,
AEW fans are gonna love. It's not what you think, though. I also made the comment on somebody else's show earlier this week that it's ironic that a company in AEW that has brought in so many old dudes has a young guy dressed as a dinosaur.
right.
Hey. Because they're all dinosaurs. Anyways, because they're old. Moving on. I got the Bucks. It's not the same as a John Cena Roman Reigns situation, but if I'm going into a tag match that's got the Bucks in it, I'm predicting the Bucks to win. I think I said this before. We said this a while ago, or I said this a while ago with the tournament that initially set up the tag team championships when they lost in the first round to Private Party. Was when it really sort of hit me that, like, if the Bucks win a match, then the story is that the Bucks win a match. If their opponents win, then the story is that the Bucks lost a match. Like, so the spotlight is on them either way, and I think that's, and not that they're bad wrestlers or bad storytellers or anything like that, but that's something that they need to shift more to the center. Because I'll give them the credit, the entire time that they've been here and the entire time that those tag titles have existed, they haven't held them, which I thought was going to happen right away, and I was wrong. But it kind of feels like, never mind the titles, because like a Bucks match is like a step above, which is debatable, but it's a little bit of spotlight that needs to be shared around a little bit more, in my opinion. And I don't think it's devious. I don't think it's on purpose. I don't think it's like them burying anybody. I just think that's how it comes off. I'd love to see Jurassic Express win this, by the way, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they need it more than the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks have yet to put themselves in the position. Well, I mean, they've had a tag title match before, but the fact that we're over a year in now and they haven't had the tag titles yet says a lot.
Right, no, it does, and that's where I was wrong. I figured they were going to either pick them up right away or be the first contenders to it or whatever. But at the same time, it feels like it's on the same level. It's like I hate the fact that my only reference is WWE. But going into a WrestleMania season, if you were a newer, younger guy in WWE, and somebody said to you, "Hey, we can give you the WWE title match, or you can be the Undertaker match this year."
Taker.
Exactly, right? So it's a little bit like, hey, do you want to fight for the tag titles, or do you want to have a match with the Bucks? Like, they have that status without having the belts, which is a little bit frustrating, because the top of the chain should be whoever's got the belts. Right now it's Hangman and Omega. It could be FTR, whatever. There has to be a shift, and I don't know whether it's a shift in how the Bucks are presented, or, which is what I just said a second ago, so I'm kind of going back on that. I don't know whether it's a shift in how they're presented, or a shift in how everybody else around them is presented. But, like I say, I'm going into this match, and even if Jurassic Express win, it still feels like a Bucks foregone conclusion to me.
Right.
Anyway, so I got the Bucks, you got Jurassic Express.
Yep.
I hope that you are right.
I hope so too.
Want to hear a joke? I've said this in videos with Jake before, and I'm going to say it to you right now. Would you like to hear a joke?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
AEW has a women's division.
Just like WWE has a tag division.
Oh, I won't deny that. WWE needs to fix their tag shit. Every single time. Every single time I've made that dig,
or WWE has a women's tag division.
They could. They just need to slightly move those belts to a different
more
job.
than what, 4 teams?
Oh, I don't know. Bliss and Cross, Trash and Bailey. Apparently right now, Nia Jackson, Shayna Baszler, which is weird. They did have the Iconics, which they don't anymore. They've got the Riot Squad down in NXT. They've got Catanzaro and Carter. They've got Aaliyah and Mercedes Martinez. They've got Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. They have had in the past Mia Yim and Shotzi Blackheart.
Okay. So
they have had Shotzi Blackheart and Rhea
women's
Ripley.
tag teams that have had the titles.
Hey man, long-term title reigns, except for when it's Trasha and Bayley, add prestige to the championships. Anyways, no, I will say there are women. This is where I've tried to go semi-constructively with my really, really shitty joke, because I will say that AEW owns tag team wrestling the same way right now NXT and a little bit of WWE own women's wrestling.
I agree.
Mostly NXT.
Definitely NXT.
The downside, there's been some good shit on the main roster too, just not as good as the Black and Gold brand.
The good shit is better.
The good shit. The good shit is better.
But you know,
no, you got to do the Triple H voice. It's the good shit. Anyways,
all right, go on.
We had an Iron Man match with no winner, and everybody else got real mad.
Well,
anyways, but no,
that's just shitty booking.
When before Dynamite came around and AEW was just a glint in four guys' eyes, everybody was saying, "Oh, save Luke Harper, save Dean Ambrose, save Revival, save this person, save that, save Jericho," because Jericho hasn't had enough of a career already. He didn't need saving. But there's all that like, oh, AEW is going to save everybody, right?
Right.
I would say the exact same thing for NXT. To pick and choose anybody they want from AEW's women's division, because NXT, specifically for the women, knows how to give them a platform. I would love to see Britt Baker in NXT. I would love to see Big Swole in NXT. I would love to see Hikaru Shida in NXT. I would love to keep Nyla Rose as far away from NXT as physically possible. But just about even like some of the weirder ones like Abaddon, definitely Chris Statlander is somebody I like.
Yeah.
And if those start like they're peeking through on a show that really hasn't given them much time, if we're realistic, I would love to see them given an NXT kind of platform the same way AEW fans wanted some of those guys that I just mentioned to get a platform.
So I agree. NXT definitely has a better women's division. AEW definitely has the best tag team division right now. However, we knew going into AEW the tag team division was going to get the main focus more than anything else.
Of course.
However,
and I wouldn't mind somebody saying, hey, send Breezango to AEW, send Imperium to don't send Undisputed Era because I want to keep them. Imagine I've even said imagine the Usos in AEW.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they ended up in Impact, but Gallows and Anderson if they had decided to go to AEW. Right? I know they're doing their own thing in Impact, and I know they've got a bunch of shows that they're running themselves. I haven't paid attention, if I'm honest.
Yeah, a couple different things. But, well, they did a whole thing. Oh, they talked about what happened with them in AEW that a few months ago before Black Wednesday and everything, before they re-signed with WWE, they were going to AEW. Like, they had contracts drawn up, everything, to where whenever their current contract was done, they were going to leave. However, WWE dropped a load of cash in front of them and told them what time the bank truck was going to roll up to the house.
Yeah.
They made the financial decision of going to stay, and then WWE fucked them. But that's a whole other story.
And I mean, you know what? All power to WWE for having the money to do that, and all power to them for saying, like, look, you know what? We could probably do something better over here, but this is a lot of money. This will do whatever for our families or whatever. Who is it? Gallows or Anderson that always is on social media talking about his hot Asian wife?
That would be the Machine Gun Carl Anderson.
I mean, I think I follow him on Instagram, and like all his profile is just like shots of his wife at the pool, and I'm like,
yeah,
all right, man, you do you. That's just fine.
Yeah. But no, yeah. So like I was trying to say, they built the company on tag team wrestling because that's what they want their focus to be. Two of their main owners are tag team wrestlers who are known for being tag team wrestlers.
Right. And they're amazing at it, right?
The women's division from the time AEW started to now has gotten tremendously better, and I honestly think with time it will become just as good. I'm not going to say better because NXT is amazing with their women's division, but I will say I do think I see that they're going to come neck and neck. Both divisions are going to be hot and just amazing to watch. Because with every week, you could see it with every week, the talent getting over for the women's division in AEW. Britt Baker, Big Swole.
Make no mistake. My comments are about the company. My comments are not about the talent.
Yeah. I agree, and I 100% agree that they should be pushing the women much more on AEW.
And this is what I'm saying. Like to your point, the women that they do have, and it's a small handful at the moment. The fact that they've managed to get themselves over or get themselves fan interest in the such little time that they've been given is entirely a credit to that talent, and it's a credit to the company for bringing that much talent together. But they need to, it's awesome to have an entire awesome locker room of women. But you have to eventually let them out of the locker room and let them wrestle.
And I think that's going to come with time as AEW gets a couple more women wrestling mindset, like people in the back helping them get that stuff together, because that's something WWE has. They have people who are specifically writing and specifically figuring out, hey, this women's match is really selling, so we need to be pushing this, and this more.
I think the thing that specifically NXT has for them right now is that they've got layers. They've proven that they can do women's stories that are nowhere near the title.
Yeah.
Like right now you've got the Mercedes Martinez versus Rhea Ripley match next Tuesday. You've got basically, it's Robert Stone, realistically speaking, but Robert Stone and his rivalry with Shotzi Blackheart's Tank, which is a little bit of comedy, but it's another thing we do. And they have sort of slipped in and out of like makeshift tag teams, but like Rhea Ripley's also got one eye on Io Shirai, and Io Shirai just won the title off of Charlotte Flair. And like what we have with AEW right now is where WWE was, to be fair, not that long ago, where it's like you have one champion, whoever's challenging them last week, and maybe two other girls fighting over there somewhere because she was looking at my man or something stupid like that. And let's be real, like it was stupid like that. Like they were either fighting over a dude or a friend or whatever, or they were fighting over a belt, and there was no, as long as that's all you're fighting over, you never have to build any character. But the characters in NXT are great, which is why they're able to have like their own little thing. Candice LeRae is often like the alternate universe right now. It's fine.
Just for example, the match that we're gonna get to eventually, Britt Baker and Big Swole.
Yes.
They have built themselves into this match. They have built a story, everything, without a title to fight for.
And see, this is exactly my point. I would love, and you've sort of gotten me into my first point, which is awesome because I was rambling.
You're welcome. Trying to get back on track here.
With the AEW women's division, I think what's more frustrating than them not making any steps is them thinking they're taking a step and actually taking a step back. And I'm going to look at their last sort of effort, which was like, what was it, the women's wild card tag team thing that they did, right? And they came out and they said, we're going to do this great new thing. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be tag teams. You're going to see a whole lot of faces you've never seen before, and all these women are going to get this amazing platform, ... on YouTube. ...
100% agree.
No, but like, first of all, ... on YouTube. Second of all, ... and most of them are going to job to the boss.
Yeah, well.
I said, and I mean this genuinely, because it becomes a perception point of view. I don't particularly mind Brandy Rhodes in the ring. I don't think she's great, but if she wants to wrestle, she can wrestle. I have no problem with that. But you know what? Triple H didn't put Stephanie McMahon in the Mae Young Classic.
Nobody definitely got over the women's title.
Totally different. Totally
Just
different.
saying.
I think that was Vince, if we're honest, or if they're honest.
A little bit of everybody.
But I mean, we're gonna get next level Triple H and Stephanie with Johnny and Candice eventually. It's gonna be fine.
I mean.
But I mean, it's
there's a Flair who has 14 title reigns, you know.
Charlotte Flair could also wrestle circles around Brandy Rhodes.
100% agree.
But no, getting back to my initial point, and it's weird because, like, people, especially on Twitter, think I hate women's wrestling when I think I talk more about women's wrestling than anything else on this channel. Right. You're going to give them all this great platform and da-da-da-da, and you brought all this attention to it, and then you threw them on YouTube, like you say. Now, I understand that AEW spawned from Being the Elite, which was a social media phenomenon, which was a YouTube phenomenon. You cannot ignore the fact that when you're trying to sell a TV product, shoving something onto YouTube and almost making it YouTube specific is like coming up to a pay-per-view and shoving a women's title match. They didn't do that Saturday, but say Shida and Thunder Rosa was pushed to the kickoff.
No.
Exactly. But that's the same thing. Especially when you say it's going to be this big thing, it's going to be this amazing thing, we're going to give this amazing platform to women, we're just not going to make it part of the show.
I mean, we did get
you got the final
SmackDown Women's title removed from the kickoff all the way to semi-main on Mania.
Exactly, and that's a move, and that is the fans getting upset and using Twitter the way it should be used, and getting it farther up the card, and that's great.
Yeah.
What was it? The second Mae Young Classic that they actually had the finals during Evolution, which was their entirely female pay-per-view? You know what they didn't do? They didn't put Evolution on YouTube.
Correct.
And it's funny because until this week, until I got to see Thunder Rosa for the first time, which we are going to talk about in a minute, I was more interested in this match than the title match, because I like Shida, but they haven't really put her up against anybody that I give a shit about, and there has to be that other side of it. So this whole Baker Swole thing was awesome, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. This will either go neck and neck with the title match, or it'll feed into a title match, or something. So whereas you took that entire tournament and bumped it onto YouTube, you took this match that's been building for like 4 months, like the entire duration of Baker's, quote unquote injury, and you bumped it.
Oh no, she definitely had an injury. She had to get her knee fixed because like her meniscus tore or something like that.
Right, but I've heard a couple of
ACL,
things. I've heard a couple of things online now where it's like, okay, it was because of that. And now it's like, how long has she been okay? And they've been keeping up the act, and nobody really has a definite answer. But regardless, without throwing a punch, without either of them ever getting in the ring, they've built up a more intriguing match than, I'm sorry, some of the other matches on this card. And Britt Baker is I think the best character. They're not the best wrestler, I will say that right away, but the best character that their women's division has. And she's coming back after being gone for how long from an injury, and you stick that on a pre-show. Like, that is such a misstep. It's ridiculous. I do think it's going to be good, though. And Big Swole's a lot of fun. I like Big Swole a whole bunch. And, like, there's no other way I can't say what I want to say, because when you're talking about male wrestlers, it sounds a bit different. When you've got, like, the stubborn, tough, I'm in it for the fight, and you refer to them as like a pit bull. It doesn't feel right referring to a woman as a pit bull, but she has that element to her. And she's just like, itching, ready to go, like, let me in the ring with this bitch because I want to knock her out type thing. So that, like, you feel her frustration as the opponent that's had to wait for so long, but also the fans that genuinely like her character that have been waiting for so long. And it's a big payoff of this big creative thing where they've gone off-site and they've brought in Rebel and they've done all the, basically her version of the Drew Gulak PowerPoint presentation type thing. They've put a lot into this. and it's been
Right.
really good. And they've said, yeah, put it on the kickoff. That is almost unbelievably stupid. Like the 8-man with the Dark Order, QT Marshall, Dustin, Sky, Ryder, all them. That should be on the
Mm-hmm.
That should be on the kickoff. No offense to those 8 guys, that should be on the kickoff. This should be on the show. My opinion.
Agreed.
I don't know how you pick a winner on this though,
Baker.
because it should be Baker.
The
but
heel wins it.
The heel wins it. On the one hand, because we as a crowd have waited for them to come back for so long, but also Swole is, the babyface that's been waiting to get her revenge, waiting to get her hands on this squirrely heel. So storytelling-wise, would dictate that it's her. I'm going with Baker. I think you're absolutely right. The returning wrestler from injury usually does get the win. I think she's going to get the win. But I think if she does get the win, then this isn't over. And then maybe if they get their shit together, the next time around they're on the main card.
Yeah.
Because if they do this twice, people are going to take legitimate issue with it.
Completely agree.
Now, what is on the card, on the other side of the coin, is Shida versus Thunder Rosa. And I have to stick my joke in here for a second. AEW's women's division is so shit they had to borrow a champion from a whole other company. Anyways, moving on. Comments in the description box down below. No, in all seriousness, like, champion versus champion always sells. I've waited for Hikaru Shida to have a believable, legitimate opponent that I cared about. And Thunder Rosa's debut on Dynamite against Serena Deeb, also making her debut on Dynamite, is unequivocally, without question, in my opinion, the best women's match I have ever seen from AEW.
Yeah.
Because so many of the, especially the title matches, so many of them surrounded around Nyla Rose, and I'm sorry, I still do not give a rat fuck about Nyla Rose. I know what she represents to the company, and that's
Excuse
cool.
me. That's not right.
Excuse you? Oh, can we talk but not talk about the Nyla Rose Vicky Guerrero bikini shoot?
Nope, didn't look at it. Don't want to look at it. I am not looking it up.
I was gonna say hard pass, but more like soft pass. But no. In all seriousness, I know Serena Deeb from WWE, from the Mae Young Classic, and all that sort of thing. Never seen Thunder Rosa in my life before.
Thunder Rosa with the most badass theme music.
Sure. Wasn't really paying attention. I love her aesthetic. I love her presentation. I love the combined American-Mexican flag.
Yes.
Yeah, really shit. I should prepare myself more. The whole half sugar skull thing she's got going on, and just the way, obviously, seeing her in the ring, she knows how to wrestle, and she's good. But, like, almost more important than that is the way she presents herself in the ring. I'm a wrestler, not a women's wrestler, and I think Serena Deeb was the perfect opponent to put her in for somebody like me, who's never seen her before, to get all of that out of her before this Saturday.
Right.
Because now I know that I've got something to look forward to, because I've already seen what Shida can do, and I like Shida as well. I think it's going to be really cool. I don't know what the deal is with NWA. Like, are they even running? Are they even a thing right now?
Wait, what? I'm sorry, I missed what you just said.
I'm not familiar with NWA Power. People have told me it's good. I've never had a chance to watch any of it.
It is very good.
Are they on hold right now because of the corona, or?
They are on most probably an indefinite hold. Like, they're probably not going to be running it anymore at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. So I don't know whether this is where it gets weird with AEW, because you see people on the show that aren't necessarily part of the show, so it's harder to sort of figure out where they're going to go. Wrestling has had a lot of double champions in the past little while, so if they want to put a shocker in there and Thunder Rosa leaves with 2 belts, I wouldn't mind that. I like Shida, but if Shida has to then go on a retribution type thing and get her title back, could be a decent story. In the meantime, they could both feud with a couple of other people in the division. If Shida wins, it's just sort of like, okay, we are where we were yesterday.
I really do. I think this is going to end up turning into, if not match of the night, second to best match of the night.
Oh, for sure.
With Shida winning. However, not. I did this in what's called Ruffin. My show at Ruffin. Not by much. Like, she wins it with a really weird like pinning predicament to where it kind of looks like both of them had their shoulders down.
Oh, so like a pin in question type thing.
Correct. Like,
okay.
Like, she won, but she didn't win.
Okay.
Like, and she doesn't like it either, but she's going to take it because, hey, she won.
Which is not entirely bad. It's like, oh, it's really unfortunate that happened, but it happened and I have a win.
Correct.
I don't know. I think it would be cool because, like, it's not like the Wednesday Night War. Like, they're not at war with NWA. No. But if Thunder Rosa, at the moment, purely because she has that title, you could sort of see her as representing NWA. So if this invading force, if you want to call it that, ends up scooping up the title, it would be like, was it the Lucha Brothers or the Bucks that had the AAA tag titles and brought them to Dynamite?
Mm-hmm. The Lucha Brothers.
Right. Okay. So to have this person, like, you know, whatever imaginary line you want to draw between AEW and NWA, to have this person come over from the other side and scoop up the belt, and even if it's not real, like, peril, like, storyline wise, oh my god, our title's in peril, somebody that doesn't even work here has it, and all that kind of thing. I will say, though, the NWA title with the photo in the center is really old school, and I really like it. And that's a lot cooler than the WWE.
I want to say that's the original NWA women's title design.
Okay.
Like, that's what they used to do. Like, and they brought it back whenever whenever Billy Corgan brought back NWA.
Yeah. I know it's not an entirely unique concept. I know, like, old titles used to have that when people held them for, like, years at a time. But it's something that's so old school, to see it in the modern time is a nice little touch. And I wouldn't want to see all of a sudden everything switches and all the titles have photos on them, because then it totally loses its uniqueness. But I do think it's a cool touch. So for her to hold up her brand new title at the end of Saturday, and the title with her fucking face on it, just as a visual, that's cool. And obviously, anytime you have somebody with a painted face, when you get the shot of them at the end of the night, and how much the battle has literally changed their face, like that's like, go back to Legion of Doom matches, and you can tell how badass the match was by how much face paint they have left. It's one of those little, like, unsaid things in wrestling. I'm kind of intrigued with the idea of Thunder Rosa winning, so that's what I'm going to go with. And you're going with Shida, but not by much.
Not by much, no.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. It'll piss off a lot of people. I'm predicting that to be the match of the night.
I'm fine with that.
And in a women's division that almost doesn't exist, that's pretty spectacular. Going on to, I guess, the marquee match of All Out, or I guess one of the spectacle matches of All Out, the Casino Battle Royal.
Yes.
Now, two sides to the coin. It is basically a rip-off Royal Rumble, but I also the credit is coming. I do, because they took it and they changed it just enough, just like they did with the ladder match concept. Basically, they did Royal Rumble in the bank for the casino chip, and it was just enough to be cool and different. I like that it is basically a Royal Rumble, but it's different enough. You know, the whole idea of people coming in teams based on the suits, and the surprise 21st member basically capitalizes on the number 30 Royal Rumble spot. I do like it as a concept. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my problem.
Okay.
We don't know everybody that's in it, which is always the case. But everybody that is in it is kind of the same, in the sense. I mean, they threw some extra people into the brawl this week to kind of change that. But basically, if I read out a couple of names to you, Lance Archer, Brian Cage,
Archer.
What did I say?
Archer.
I meant to say Lance Archer. Okay, but Lance Archer, Brian Cage, Pentagon, Butcher, Eddie Kingston. If I mention those names off the top, which are the ones that have been talked about sort of the most, they're all basically, and people are going to shoot me for this comparison, they're all Rybacks. They're all what WWE wanted Ryback to be. If I want to be more fair about it. They're all presented as the big bad killer monster that comes in and eats somebody and leaves.
Right.
Here's the problem. If the entire match is full of big bad killer monsters that nobody wants to deal with, if they're all big bad killer monsters, then suddenly none of them is a big bad killer monster. Because big bad killer monster should be that one guy that walks into the match and says, oh, fuck. But if all of them kind of have that, like, take a look at Brian Cage. I mean, Brian Cage is presented along with Taz, so the presentation is a little bit different. But he's the monster. He's going to come and rip you apart. Then Jake the Snake is going to come in with Lance Archer and talk about how he's going to rip you apart. And he does. And the Butcher is just a big dude with a scary-sounding name. And Eddie Kingston is pretty much the same, except he's way better on the mic, and he took the living piss out of Cody a couple weeks ago. So you got a bunch of killers in there that are entirely different, entirely unique in their characteristics and whatever, but the similarities in how they're presented make them come off the same.
Right.
To the point where they had to throw in a bunch of random people like Best Friends and Billy Gunn and stuff into the brawl this week to try and break up that thing. The other thing about it is I don't want any of those big bad gigantic monsters to win. And they're the ones that have been most focused on.
Well, yeah, of course.
Like, okay, I probably shouldn't have used Pentagon Jr. in that comparison because I would love to see Pentagon Jr. versus John Moxley.
Yes, absolutely.
But I mean, Butcher and Blade are a tag team.
Yep.
Santana and Ortiz are a tag team. Chuck and Trent are a tag team that cry about a van.
Billy's not a tag team.
Billy
Gunn.
Okay, but Billy and Austin are they not wrestling as a tag team on Dark?
They are in Dark, yeah.
I think it's kind of funny that his son gets a last name and he doesn't.
Well, because WWE's a dick.
But they could do the Taz thing and just spell it with one N instead of two.
Yeah, true.
Okay, but here's the thing though. If he can't be called Billy Gunn because of the WWE thing, how is his tag team merch allowed to be called the Gun Club?
Because Gun Club, he had already got the rights for it.
All right, fair enough. It's weird because I'm looking across, and obviously there's like to be determined because there's more people that we don't know. Number 21 will obviously be a surprise and whatever.
Yep.
Off the top of my head, there's a bunch of people in this match that I really like. The match is going to be fun. I like the concept. There's going to be a lot of really wicked shit in there like there always is. I can't think of a single person that I want to see go against John Moxley. One, purely out of curiosity, because I don't know what the match would look like. I wouldn't mind John Moxley versus Shawn Spears.
Yeah,
but the result of that isn't in any doubt, because Shawn Spears is not presented on the same level as John Moxley, which is fine. You can go into a title match and know who's winning and know who's losing. But I mean, Darby Allin we've seen. Have we seen Lance Archer versus Moxley?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a maybe. Brian Cage we've seen. Ricky Starks would be fed to Moxley. Pentagon's a maybe. Ray Phoenix, not so much in my opinion. Butcher and Blade are a tag team. Eddie Kingston, I gotta see more than one match of his.
He's good.
I don't doubt that he's good. I just mean as far as like when you start picturing what a future match will look like, I don't really have that picture for Eddie Kingston. Could be great. Shawn Spears, I'm curious. Billy Gunn would be hilarious. I'm not gonna lie, but he's not winning. Austin Gunn, they haven't done anything with. Jake Hager, we've already seen. Santana and Ortiz have already had their asses kicked by Moxley in the past. The Best Friends are a tag team. And, yeah. I'm going to go out of the names that we have here, because obviously there's going to be surprises, I'm going to say either Shawn Spears or Darby Allin, but even then, neither one of those is somebody that I think is going to legitimately take the title off of Mox.
Yeah.
So.
I like those two picks. I would say Penta, possibly too.
I would love to see Penta versus Moxley. I don't necessarily think you need a title in that mix.
Same.
I think if you want to, I think if they were going to do Penta versus Mox, and this is my limited knowledge of Pentagon, so everybody chill for a minute, but I think they would save that until Moxley's not the champion and have it be in more of a lights out scenario.
Right.
One of those, what he did with Omega. But I don't think, because by virtue of the fact that the lights out matches don't count towards the rankings, they don't count towards your record and all that sort of thing, I seriously doubt they're going to have a lights out title match, because it sort of quote unquote doesn't exist.
Right, of course.
But no, Penta I would be fine with. The ones that we've already seen, I don't necessarily need to see again. Darby Allin is the one exception, but even then I still don't think he would win. I have no idea who to guess as the surprise entrance, whatever. For the lulz, let's just say the surprise entrant is Brock Lesnar. For the lulz.
I mean, I would mark.
Oh man.
So Ruffin's prediction, which I kind of agree with and wouldn't mind it. Tessa Blanchard.
Does anybody want to touch her right now?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, I want to touch her, but
somebody might, but it's a possibility.
Because what was her deal? Like, she left Impact because blah blah blah. She said offensive shit, or she was racist, or
something like that.
She picked on people in the back, or something like that. I don't know. I don't mean to flush it under the rug, but like anybody that's offended by anybody is taking somebody else's job now. Like, it's getting a bit ridiculous in some senses.
The way I put it, and the way that we talked about it was, she could be the quote unquote fourth member between her FTR and her father. Managed by her father with FTR.
And see, there's not very many matches that I'm fantasy booking for Charlotte Flair specifically, but I really want to see Tessa versus Charlotte Flair.
Oh, that'd be great too. I'm sure the pocketbook is open on both sides.
I'm sure again, two sides to that, because both companies have the money to do it. Like, let's not sit here and stack up Vince and Tony's pocketbooks, but both companies.
Tony's pocketbook's bigger.
That's fine, but Vince has Vince money, and Vince has Saudi money, and Vince has Fox money.
Yeah, but
so Vince is dealing with more than one pocketbook, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, true. However,
if the Prince of Saudi Arabia thinks Tessa Blanchard is attractive, we're gonna remember that big.
I'm not touching that one.
Remember that big green belt that Braun Strowman won in the biggest battle, or the biggest Royal Rumble ever, or whatever the hell it was?
Yeah.
He's gonna have a match in Saudi Arabia against Tessa Blanchard for that belt. God. I'm terrible, and I'm going to hell. It's fine. No, but I think whatever the issues are, because AEW and WWE, respectively, are the two biggest, most public, most open book companies around right now, mostly because other companies aren't able to do anything.
Right.
Both companies have the money. I think that's beyond a question at this point. Both companies also have to be aware of the target they're putting on their back if they pick up somebody like that. And if they're smart, both companies will consider that as an equal concern. I would love it. If AEW was going to do intergender, which I think they've pretty much said they're not, then I would say sure, because we saw what I don't watch very much Impact, but I did see the cage match that Tessa Blanchard had with Sami Callihan.
She has worked with Brian Cage before, so
that is true too. I was more thinking if she could do what she did with Callihan with Moxley, again, I think that would be an entertaining match, but
Right.
I can't take my, what do you call it? I can't suspend my disbelief enough to think that at this point, AEW is willing to take the same step that Impact did and put the main men's title on a female. Not to say that it shouldn't happen. I don't think a company that's just
Well,
barely a year
I mean,
old is going to make a big step like that.
I don't see them letting her win.
Yeah, but again, it's like the Penta situation. It's like I would love to see what she could do with Moxley. I just don't think there'd be a title involved.
Right.
Which is unfortunate. 3 or 4 years down the line, that could entirely be a different conversation. I don't think a company that's a year old on television is making such a dramatic paradigm shift as that just yet. Which is kind of, I mean, WWE has had all the time in the world to properly introduce intergender wrestling, and they just haven't because they're dumbasses. But yeah, I'm going to go back to it. Darby Allin, Shawn Spears, Penta, or whoever the surprise is, Brock Lesnar. Why not? Would he have to change his name too? He'd be Locke Bresner.
No, he owns Brock Lesnar.
No, Locke Bresner. It'll be good.
Or it's his actual name, so
Locke,
it doesn't matter.
Locke Bresner. It's good.
Sure.
Locke Bresner is good. That's what we're going with.
No, he's gonna be what's called Brock Sable. He'll take his wife's last name.
No, he has to take his wife's ex-husband's name, and he's Brock Marrow.
Oh God. No, he's just gonna come out
Alexa,
as Mark
show
Marrow.
me cuck.
That's it.
Okay, let's move swiftly on. I don't have much to say about this other than it's going to be a lot of fun. Jericho, Cassidy, Mimosa Mayhem.
I'm sorry, not Jericho. Jericho's gonna get. There's gonna be some fun shit in this match. Cassidy wins it though. Jericho loses nothing.
No, he doesn't. I had a very interesting idea for a heat spot in this match, though.
Huh.
The entire appeal of this match is the ridiculousness of it. Is the entire idea that one of these guys is going to get dunked in the mimosa. So how much would it piss off fans if, one way or another, Jericho just won it with a pin and took that fun away from them? But after the fact, Cassidy would clearly get him. He'd still get chucked in the orange one way or the other. You'd have a big inner circle versus best friends brawl, and he'd still get dunked, and he'd still get the revenge, but the fans would get to feel it twice as much, because for a split second, Jericho took that fun that they were looking forward to away from them. And then Cassidy gives it back. Because I think for the minute that you get the win, and the win didn't even happen with the proper gimmick, because it is pin, submission, or dunk him in the tank, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So I think the not Jericho winning would get the boo, but the fact that the wacky match didn't end in the wacky way would get a boo, and this is where an actual live crowd being back in the building helps. Because Jericho would get the heat twice. He'd get the heat for beating the guy that everybody likes. He'd also get the heat for taking the fun out of the match. And then Cassidy could toss him in after the fact, and it's like, okay, everything's right with the world again. So a little bit of a heat spot before the goofy spot that everybody wants to see. I think
you can only win by pinfall submission or by throwing someone into a vat of mimosa. Thank you, AEW. Thank you.
And I will say that, and I get that AEW is different. I do. And I get that they do stuff like this a little bit better. But I do have to stick in the fact that there is some bias. If WWE did anything even close to this, they would get shat on. Regardless of how good the match ended up being.
If the story was there, and it lent it to get there, I don't think it would get shit on. If it was just to do it, like a Punjabi prison match, then it's going to get shit on.
Hey, not everything can be as prestigious as an eye for an eye match, alright?
Point exactly.
Plastic eyeball for the win. God. Plastic eyeball for the fuck. I'm sorry, right now, everything that he's involved in is a bit shit, but right now snively heel Seth Rollins is kind of cool. Like, he's existing in all the shit that is main roster WWE, but he's doing it well. He is the obnoxious guy that everybody thinks he is on Twitter, except now he gets to do it on TV.
Well, yeah.
Which is great.
Perfect.
And he's better than Kenny Omega. Moving on.
That is a false statement, sir.
That's a false.
That is not right.
I mean, it's not wrong either.
But it is. AEW World Tag Team Championship, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page versus Fuck the Revival.
Okay. So, I said at the beginning, every single match on this card has something that I love and something that I hate about it. This match is the something that I hate and something that I love-est of all of them.
Okay.
Let me be clear. First and foremost, if it's not the women's match, this match is going to be the best match of the night.
Yeah.
This match is going to be okay. Regardless of the women's match, this match is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
My hot take is I'm more intrigued by this match than I am by FTR versus the Bucks.
Okay.
Which I mean, and that's not me taking a shot at the Bucks. That's just me being honest, because it's been oversold by the other match. I mean, has been oversold by the fans. I'm going to use the movie reference. Anybody that's been listening to me and Kristen and doing the movie review stuff, I've made this reference a couple different times now. Way back when I was a lot younger, I went to see Titanic. Titanic's a good movie.
Yeah.
Titanic is not by any means the best movie ever made. There are a lot of movies that are better than Titanic. And the outpouring that I got, and this is like young me, lost my headset, hold on, there we go.
You're good.
The outpouring of absolute, like, disdain that I got from people that were so upset that I didn't kiss the ass of that movie. And more recently, you get things that are a little bit more political, like Wonder Woman, like Black Panther, etc. First of all, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman, obviously.
Yes.
But it was they hold so much social weight that you sort of had to like them. And Titanic, everybody was like, it's just so good, you have to like it. This match that we're going to get someday, somewhere, somehow, sometime, between FTR and the Bucks, is already at that point with me the way that everybody else presents it. And people don't even intend to be obnoxious about, like, wrestling fans are obnoxious. I don't even think people intend to be that obnoxious about this match, but people have driven this, like, before AEW was a thing, before the Bucks and Cody and Kenny put thing together, while the Revival was still in WWE, people are like, oh, this match is going to happen one day, and it's going to be great. Foregone conclusion, it's going to be great. You're going to watch it, and you're going to think that it's the best thing ever. And you can only go so far with that before I go into it predisposed to not like it, only because I'm being told I have to like it. Does that even if you don't agree with me, does that make a bit of sense?
Oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So I'm curious as to what FTR versus the Bucks is going to be. It's going to be one of those, oh my god, there's been this many years of hype over social media, over different companies, over different iterations, over different everything. Is it going to be what it measures up to? But I'm already exhausted on that match, and it hasn't even happened yet. I am much more intrigued just because I don't have that fatigue with this match. Not only because it's not that combination, but also because the Bucks don't have the championships right now. Kenny and Hangman do. Yep. And I like the Revival, and I like Hangman, and I like Kenny. What I've said about Kenny Omega is going to pretty much stay. I enjoy Kenny Omega. I think he's a fantastic wrestler. I still don't get the God status that a lot of people have him at, but he is a fantastic wrestler, and nobody can take that away from him. This match is going to be fantastic. As I say, it's probably going to be one of the best matches of the night. As I say, it is a match I'm looking forward to more than FTR versus the Bucks. Now, here's my problem with this match. There's way too much shit in it. There is way too much shit in it. I wish I wish that this match was just this match in a bubble, but AEW has a writing style that everything that this guy's doing over here and every feud that's happening over here has some connection to that feud over there, has some connection to that feud over there, because, you know, everybody's life affects everybody's life, and that reflects more of real life, which is good in a way, except it means that no matches exist in a bubble. And
Yeah.
I would love this match just to exist in a bubble, because I don't want to be thinking about this match about, oh, because FTR has problems with X, Y, and Z person, and Kenny has a problem with this person, and Hangman has a problem with this person, and Tully's over here being old. And, like, yes, obviously the impact of this, it's a title match. It's going to affect more than the 4 people involved, but it's so spidered out that the match itself has no, I don't want to say it has no identity, but it creeps close up on having no individual identity. This is the one match that's happening on this one night. I want to see the Revival, you know, out of the constraints of WWE and just see what they can do. But they've been thrown into this Tully Blanchard thing, and there's this ongoing new Four Horsemen conversation, and oh my god, but Tully's also with Shawn Spears, so is he going to get involved? And, you know, Cody's in the background somewhere, and then the other side with Kenny and Hangman opens up something that's bugging me across all of wrestling. And this is going to sound like the most pussy-ass thing for me to say ever. Pro wrestling in general has a very weird relationship with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Austin doing the beers all the time in his entrance, you know, fine, nobody really cared. For a little bit of time, Robert Stone on NXT, when he had no clients, was just like sitting in the crowd, having a bit of a bender. Everything that they've ever done with Jeff Hardy about his substance abuse issues and whatnot, and Sheamus making him take a piss test live in the ring and all that sort of thing. And now you've got Kenny Omega and Hangman, which is kind of a mirror. And I'm not, this isn't meant as a dig, but it's kind of a mirror of the Sasha Banks Bayley situation, where here's this great team that we know is going to break up eventually, and one big linchpin of that entire scenario is somebody else coming along and saying, hey, one of you's an alcoholic and one of you doesn't drink. And FTR coming down week after week after week with a cooler in their hands to point out that, hey, aren't you guys a wacky couple? One of you drinks and one of you doesn't. Here, have some chocolate milk. Like, there's way too much extra shit going on, and it's just, it doesn't let the match breathe. And that's really shitty, considering, as I've said, this is going to be one of the best matches of the night. You got the stuff with the Bucks right now, and, like, Kenny Omega is with the Bucks because they are the elite, and so he's over here with his faction, and then he's over here with his tag team championship partner, and Omega's kind of a dick, and now the Bucks are dicks for reasons, but Kenny's an alcoholic idiot that's fucked them all over at some point, so technically he should be the dick. There's way too much
Dick.
There's way too much dick. And it's I don't know, like,
FTR wins.
Yeah, but that's like the foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Like, they've already told you that, and this is where I will say I'm gonna make the comparison to Sasha and Bayley in a negative way. We can see a mile away that these guys are gonna break up. They're not as fluent a tag team partner or a tag team as they should be. So what does it mean to every other tag team in the division that this team that doesn't even really work has still held the belts against other people who are definitely teams? The best friends are a team. The H2 whatever are a team. Santana and Ortiz are a team. So what does it say when the two singles guys that definitely aren't getting along are beating all these teams that are actually, like, there's so many layers of so much other outside shit that I really just wish that they could let the match be the match. Obviously, the fallout is going to happen. Obviously, the breakup of the team is going to happen. But I want to think about that after the fact. I want to be affected by that when it happens. I don't want to know 6 months ago that they're going to break up this Sunday. Or this Saturday, rather. Sorry, WWE isms.
Right.
I don't. It's such a good match, and it's such a good collection of talent, and they've thrown 15 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. They've put chocolate syrup on my steak. I like chocolate syrup. Guapo, look at me.
Not on steak, though.
Look at me. I'm not a skinny person. Do you think I turned down a steak?
No.
Do you think
Steak's delicious.
Do you think I turned down chocolate?
Absolutely not.
Do you think I want chocolate syrup on my steak? I don't want a grade AAA hamburger served to me on a Krispy Kreme donut.
That one,
No, stop. Get your America out of my podcast. Beat you over the head with a bag of milk. It's fine.
I'm just saying. I'm sure you've never had it, but a nice big juicy burger stuffed in between two full regular size grilled cheeses is amazing.
Oh, that's fine, because you know what? Bread goes on a burger. Cheese goes on a burger. Sugar and chocolate do not go on a burger. Chocolate sauce doesn't go on a steak, and I don't need this much extra shit in my tag team championship match. On the brand, in the company that sells themselves more on tag team wrestling sometimes than their main title. It's too much. And that doesn't take away the frustrating thing is that none of that that's bugging me right now is going to change that on the night, on this coming Saturday, this is going to be a fantastic match.
Absolutely.
It's going to be better than FTR versus the Bucks. Moving on.
And finally,
your
your AEW World Championship match. MJF, Maxwell Jacob Freeman. He's better than you, and you know it.
Have you seen the MJF interview that went up yesterday on What Culture?
Yeah.
It's Adam Wilborn.
Of course.
Interviewing MJF.
Of course.
Like, in character.
What do you mean in character? That is MJF all the time.
Uh-huh. Anyways. The thing is, like, MJF, I saw, just before AEW got up off the ground, I saw MJF at a Destiny show. So check that off the Spaz Phoenix bucket list. And I actually got to talk to him, and he was, like, the nicest dude.
What do you mean? Whoa. Are you trying to say he's not a dick all the time?
No. Like, whenever, like, there's a small handful of people at Destiny that I've not gotten to know, like, personally, but, like, gotten to know as, like, these are my Destiny guys. Now, find out after the fact that most of them are actually Impact guys, like Josh Alexander and Aiden Prince and Trey and all these people that I found out later on down the line were actually from Impact. Yeah, our current Destiny champion is still Josh Alexander.
Right.
Before that, it was Pete Dunne.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, Destiny has working relationships with WWE, NXT, AEW, ROH, Impact,
everyone,
and NWA, I think.
Probably.
Plus the best local, whatever, right? But no, like if it's somebody that I've never met before, or I've never gotten a chance to see before, I do the typical nerdy thing, like, if I get to see them in passing, it's a very, very small building. If I get to see them in passing, it's like, hey man, never seen you before, good shit, hope I see you again, type thing. And he just sort of stopped and he's like, well, what do you watch usually? And I got a chance to actually shoot the shit with him for like 2 minutes. Nicest dude ever. And I hate to break kayfabe, but so is Marty Scurll.
Right.
So it was funny to see the interview with Adam Wilborn, because Adam Wilborn just comes off as like the nicest dude ever. He's like a bigger dork than us, and he's absolutely getting the piss take. Every time he called Moxley, he's like, no, it's Dictator John.
Dictator John.
It's just a really good interview, like, because there's a little bit of real and mostly kayfabe in the same interview, and I compare it to sort of like Broken Matt doing interviews in like Broken Matt persona. It was really cool.
Right.
Anyways, that was a total side note. See, this is the absolute antithesis of the tag team match we just talked about. This is just, here's a kick-ass dominant champion, and here's the annoying little pipsqueak that thinks he's going to win the championship. Character-wise. Yeah. Obviously, he's got his own like little entourage, and he's got Wardlow because every bad guy needs a heater. and all that sort of thing. But by comparison to the match that we just talked about, how much simpler is this match?
So much simpler.
So much simpler. And how much better do you feel about this match going in? Because it's not laced into this and laced into that, and we might pull this string out, we might pull that. Like, just let the match be the match, and it's going to be really good. Because all you really have to do if you're MJF in this feud is go out there, talk mad shit, make the audience want you to get punched in the face. On the night, what do you have to do? Go in there and get punched in the face.
Yes.
I will say, because I'm not American,
yeah.
I know the election's coming up. I know there's going to be all kinds of fun coming up with that. You got the orange Muppet and you got the gray Muppet. It's fine. All of the politics, metaphor, whatever you want to call it, campaigning thing that he was doing was done really, really well. Nothing wrong with it. I think they went about 1 week too long with that as a gimmick, so I think it went a little over its staying period. But that's really the only criticism I have of this. I don't like the whole I'm going to fight you, but you can't use your finisher. Like, that feels a little bit WWE. But, at the same time, it's just going to flush out all the extra weapons that Moxley has, which I think is a good thing. So, it's not great, but it's going to come up to something, like the way he choked out Brody Lee.
Right.
Now, here's the debate, and here's the thing that I did catch when you guys were doing your show earlier. I have to balance out what I want versus what AEW needs in this match. Because I want Moxley to win. Unequivocally, I want Moxley to win. Because I'm enjoying Moxley as champion. He's been champion over the COVID period, which means most of his championship reign has been in front of nobody. And that's shit. And that goes for anybody. That goes for mostly Drew McIntyre. That goes for whatever they decide to do.
That's for all of Drew McIntyre because he won it at Mania.
He won it at WrestleMania. It goes for Keith Lee, who won it and lost it in the no audience era. So anybody else that I would say, like, oh, it's time for somebody else to pick up the whatever. Like, they had a title run, but they never got to have a title run. But also, I just like Moxley. I like Moxley as a champion. I hate the comparison that, oh, he's just now like 2020 Austin. But, like, he fills the role, he fills the 2020 version of the role that Austin filled back then, now, without being an Austin 2.0.
Right.
And I think it's so casual, and it's so cool, and there's a lot of conversations to be had about, like, the release of, or the leaving of Renee Young and whether that's going to become a factor or whatever. I really hope it doesn't become a factor in this. I would love to see her later on down the line do something in AEW, whether it's with Moxley or whether it's with some sort of production standpoint. Not here, not tonight. Now, I have to put what I want aside because I'm selfless like that. I'm for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for the people. We deserve it. AEW desperately needs to get that belt on somebody that's not ex-WWE.
Agreed.
Not that being ex-WWE is bad, but it is a take that has gone around. I think somewhat deservedly so. They just said we're going to put the title on the biggest name we got that's not one of the bosses. They did it with Jericho, they did it with Moxley. And unfortunately, those two big names came out of WWE. Jericho was a big name before WWE, but his name went to the stratosphere once he was in WWE, and I don't think anybody can deny that portion of it. Moxley was like an indie guy or a deathmatch guy, and then he came to WWE, and now all of a sudden everybody knows who Dean Ambrose is.
Right.
I've made that jab at AEW for like, oh well, they're just going to keep the belt on WWE guys so that they can keep getting the recognition, and I think it's a deserved jab because I think it's absolutely true. I also, for their benefit, I want them to take that jab away from me. And I want them to take a guy that feels like a true AEW guy and run with it and learn how to create an AEW guy with an AEW feel. Like, if he was a little higher up the card, putting that title on Darby Allin would do that.
Right.
So, I want Moxley, personally, for like who I like, who I'm enjoying right now. For the better move for AEW is to put that title on MJF.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, I definitely want MJF to win it.
And clearly, you're not going to ramble on the match like I just did.
No, because I already did that. No, MJF definitely, he deserves to win, as well as just, I mean, John. I love John. He's a great champion. It's time. It's time to get a non-WWE person as the champion. It really is.
Yeah,
There's
sucks,
no
though.
other better way to put it.
It sucks because, like, I don't want to create a situation where somebody does come over from WWE and they don't want to put the title on them because of the WWE stink. Because remember, we used to talk about when people would come to WWE and they would say, oh, well, Vince doesn't want to put the title on them because they got the WCW stink on them or they got the TNA stink on them. I don't want to create a situation like that either. So, like, somebody comes over it, like, if Seth Rollins were to eventually leave WWE for whatever reason and come to AEW, I don't want to be a situation where, like, well, we can't put a title on him because then the fans are going to get upset about it and this and that and the next thing. I don't want to create that either, but so far that's all they've done. So they need to balance it out so that eventually where you came from before doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
But they need to shake off this image that they've created in the short term because I don't. While it's great, Jericho's a great choice. Moxley's an amazing choice. I think Moxley did more because Jericho's still doing what Jericho does for the company without the title.
Correct.
Moxley is doing exactly what he needs to do for the title right now. That's the difference. Jericho can be Jericho without the belt. And the fact that he still calls himself Le Champion is just proof of that, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, you need somebody in there. You need somebody to. If he was higher up in the card, I'd say Jungle Boy. Because Jungle Boy feels like an AEW guy. And I'm sure all these people that I'm mentioning, MJF and Darby Allin and Jungle Boy, I'm sure they've all done stuff somewhere else too. But it doesn't get the same stigma as, oh, you're just throwing it on a WWE guy, eh? Like, if they threw it on Nick Cage, I don't think anybody would have said, oh, you're throwing it on an Impact guy, eh? Because it doesn't have the built-in, oh, we're AEW fans, we're better than WWE. Like, it doesn't, like, that is such a unique scenario that's only going to happen to people that have come from there. It's almost unfortunate. Like, it sucks that we have to have this conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
Like this is a conversation that shouldn't have to happen. But, you know...
It's time to start putting titles on non-WWE people. Or not people who did not have a name.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously... I think...
Like, I wouldn't say the same thing if Ricochet left WWE and went to AEW,
no.
it would not be the same thing.
It also wouldn't be the same thing if, what the hell is his name? Ty Dillinger, whatever the fuck he's called. Sean Spears. It wouldn't be the same if he won, because, yeah, he was a name in WWE, but
barely
won nothing.
Or the other thing I would say is back in the heyday of TNA, that rhymed, hey, the TNA community. Anyways, fuck me, I'm tired. No, I'm talking about when it actually was TNA. And they put their world title on Christian. Nobody was saying at that point, oh, you just put it on a WWE guy, because Christian was never a world title guy.
He was a
at least
tag
not
guy,
not at that point.
No.
So I mean, it's like if you would get it right now if Seth Rollins went over and he won the title off of Moxley. because not only would I just thought of this now, not only would you get it's just another WWE guy. It's like, oh, what are you gonna do? Just recreate the Shield?
Right.
Like, people lost their fucking nut when Cody Rhodes did an interview, and he said, who would you love to have? Like, looking over to where you were, who would you love to have? And he said Roman Reigns, and everybody lost their fucking nut. Roman Reigns wouldn't be Roman Reigns in AEW. I'll give them that much credit. Just about said it. Jon Moxley is still a little bit Dean Ambrose.
He is, but he's not.
Yeah, there's a happy medium. Like somebody like a Roman Reigns would have to be an entire 180.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins would have to be the same. Let's be real. But like if you took out somebody like pick somebody out of a hat, who's misused in WWE? There's a loaded conversation.
Cesaro.
There you go. Nobody would complain that you just took an ex-WWE guy and put a title on him. It's like, no, here's a guy that never got a title and you gave him one.
Yes.
Rusev.
Yep.
Would be the same. It shouldn't matter where they came from, but they just did 2 back-to-back, and it put them in a really odd spot. It put them in a spot where the fans could see a pattern, and it's a pattern that shouldn't matter, but because it does matter, you got to get rid of the pattern. So, yes, I want Jon Moxley to win. I know it makes more sense for MJF to win, so for the betterment of AEW, MJF should win.
Agreed.
And that's it. That's the card.
Yeah. That's it. That's everything. That is AEW All Out. Watch it this Saturday on pay-per-view.
It's pay-per-view, and you know it.
And MJF is going to be the champion, and you know it.
It'd be funny if it wasn't the main event.
Right.
Main event is Thunder Rosa walking out with Sheeta's title.
I mean, I'm okay with that. If they end up making that the main event.
They won't, because, I mean, they won't. They don't have a women's division. It's fine. Anyway, so tell them where to find you, and one more time, tell them where they can find yours and Ruffin's show.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at @guapo_504. And you can find me on Facebook and all the other fun podcast places and YouTube as well at the Wednesday Night Wrestling Show. Drop us a line, look us up, follow us, subscribe. We will be doing a live show on Facebook every Thursday with podcast and show to follow every Friday.
Yep. At 7 o'clock your time and 8 o'clock real time. And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz, he's been Guapo. We've been your AEW reality check. Subscribe there.
Right.
Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, myself and Senor Guapo are tagging out. Bye, guys.
Adios, mis amigos.